am going to just pray for us, and then we're going to get in it because we have so much good information to talk about today. So let me just pray, and then we'll go for it. Lord, thank you so much for this time, again, set aside for us, Lord, that you just desire us to fellowship and gather and get together, and would that minister to our hearts and our souls? Again, Lord, if we went to the women's retreat, and if we didn't, then would this just be a sweet time, a filling time? Would we get ideas and inspiration, but also just hear clearly from you, just what you want for our lives and how you designed us and created us to live full, abundant lives filled with health and joy and peace and the energy to chase after our kids and raise them in the way that you want them to go. So would you bless this time, bless conversation, give us ideas of questions to ask later, and be here in our midst. We love you, Lord. Thank you. Amen. All right. We have some announcements this morning. For anyone new, I'm Courtney Matrenga. I kind of help coordinate this shindig, and we just love seeing you guys. Today we have some announcements. So first off, the Shop and Swap is coming up. That is where you bring your kind of gently used clothes that you or your kids no longer want or fit, and you donate them, and then you come on the Shop and Swap day, and you can take anything that you want or need or see that you like for free. It's all free. So we're starting to take donations in the church lobby. There should be boxes. Lily, do you know where those are? I don't know where they are. They're somewhere in the lobby. Oh, yeah? Perfect. That's where they are. They're black. Look for those in their bins. And they're just asking you to pre-sort your clothes by gender and size in individual bags. You can drop them in there and just label them. And then the Shop and Swap is on March 6th from 9 to 11 in the lobby. But they're also looking for volunteers. So Friday night, they're looking for volunteers from 4 to 10 p.m. to help sort clothes and organize things and get everything set up. The cool thing about that is you kind of get a sneak peek at what's going to be available, and then you can get first dibs in a way if you want. You just know exactly where to go to find what you want. Saturday also, they're looking for volunteers from 8 to 1 p.m. to help direct people and keep replenishing the stock and set things out and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, we will have a flyer. Cindy, in her cute little heels, just ran over to the office to grab the flyer, and she'll be back in a minute. And it has Michelle Oosterbon's number on there, or if you have her number, give her a call. She definitely needs help, I'm sure. And then next month, we're going to have Hannah Van Meter come and talk about cultivating contentment in our homes with our kids. So Lily actually kind of came up with this idea and I have been thinking about the same thing as we had the shelter in place during COVID. A lot of us went crazy at home with our kids, and we're like, what the heck are we supposed to do here? And then some of us loved it, like me. At the end of the day, I'm like, I actually love being at home. And now it's getting really hard to go back out into the world. But also, I'm overdoing it. I'm like overcompensating a little bit. Like, yes, let's go to all the activities and lessons and blah, blah, blah. And now I'm exhausted. So it will be a good reminder of balance in this time of how to just be content in your home and how to have balance there and things to do to make you not want to just go out to every single play date all the time, but also play dates are good. So she's going to be sharing about that. I think she's the perfect person. She has 5 kids. She has a home that she's lived in for a long time, but it's not the biggest home and it's not the smallest home, but she's done well with what she has and she is content in it. So come for that. It is next month, which has a ton of Tuesdays in it. There's 5 Tuesdays in March. So we're at the very end, the last Tuesday of the month. Okay, and then we have, all of you guys should have received a raffle ticket. That's what it's called. And if you don't, sorry, it's kind of too late now. Next month, someone, an anonymous gifter has donated a Gathered We Grow book until the end of the semester for one mom. So every time you come, you'll get a raffle ticket. You don't have to be on time at 9:30, although we'll probably do a separate on-time prize somehow too. So this one is going to 905533. Woohoo! Awesome. The TUP does. Cool. You're welcome. Or don't thank me. Thank your anonymous donor. I don't know. Okay. And now we're going to jump right in to our panel. Feel free, if you want, and if you haven't, to grab food or drinks while everyone's coming up here. But we are having a health panel today. So in this crazy time, it's been like this year of navigating COVID and all of that, and now we're getting back into things and going places, and it's great. But we just had the idea to talk about boosting our immune system. What does health look like moving forward for families, for moms, and in this time just of childbearing years? I don't know about you, but I can feel so depleted at times, and like how do I even maintain health while I'm running and chasing these kids and nursing a baby who is like still a parasite, and it's just hard, right? So we have some moms here who just are a wealth of knowledge and resources. But with that said, they're sharing their experience, what's worked for them and their families, and not everything that they say is going to work for us and our families. So they're ideas and guidelines. Nothing is black and white here. This is not the end all to everything. So I'm just throwing that out there to encourage you. Don't go home feeling like I have to do all of these things prescribed to me today in order to live a healthy, fulfilled, abundant life and have energy. That's really not the case. And also I wanted to point out that we're talking about like the physical aspects of health today. We're going to talk about food and nutrition, and exercise and sleep. All of those are really important. But at the end of the day, if you don't have a walk with the Lord and your spiritual health isn't taken into account, you're still not going to quite feel right or living the life that the Lord has for you, and that just peace and lightness and burden lifted that the Lord has for you. So we're not going to, I don't know, maybe they will get into that. I honestly don't know. But I wanted to just encourage you in that too, that we're talking about more the physical aspect, but there's a whole spiritual aspect that we could do an entire other talk on. But hopefully you got a little bit from the women's retreat if you went on that. Okay, so today we have, and ladies, you can come up now. We're going to talk about food with Lily Schwarm, who forever when I think of Lily, I think just nutritional, healthy, good food, whole foods. So I'm super excited. I've never actually sat down with you, Lily, I don't think, to talk to you about food, but I know some of your ideas and things, so I'm excited. So Lily is going to talk, and we're kind of doing it in an order here because food, I don't know, what is that quote? Thy food is thy medicine, and you are what you eat. It's pretty a pivotal part of health, right? What you put in your body. So we're talking about that, and then we're going to talk about sleep because sleep is super important, but oftentimes overlooked as moms. And then we're going to talk about exercise because if you don't do these two, it's really hard to like get into a healthy exercise system. Sandy brought that point up, and I think it is very valid. So all of these, well, Sandy also on your tables, I'm sure she'll talk about it, but she has a little piece of paper with her contact information on it because she does exercise coaching. So just to throw that out there. And then all of you guys have sheets from each of them. So Lily's has it's a picture of food. Yes, that. So if you want to grab that for her talk, and we'll get started. Thank you. Oh, actually, yeah, you have that one. If you're
sharing germs. Oh, I don't mind at all. We're actually going to refer to this a little bit later, so you can put it aside for now. But I am going to have you make some notes in it later. So if you didn't grab a pen, grab one from the middle of the table, and there might be some in the back as well. So Courtney already introduced me, but my name is Lily Schwarm. Most of you probably already know me. And if you do, you probably know I'm passionate about a lot of things. And one of them is nutrition. And so I want to tell you why nutrition is important to me. I'm only going to share a little bit about like what's the standards for my family. I mostly just want to give you guys tips and tricks. and maybe open your eyes to some things you hadn't thought about before. So I'm going to start with the Bible. The Bible says that we are stewards of our body. Our bodies belong to God, and we are here to take good care of it and give it back to him. And the Bible says in 1 Corinthians 6:19 through 20, or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from God, and that you are not your own? You have been bought with a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body. I want to be around for a long time serving God and expanding his kingdom as long as he wills, and so I'm going to take good care of this body. Just a quick testimony of the power of nutrition in my own life. When I graduated high school, in the 5 years following that, I lost about 30 pounds, slowly making lifestyle changes. I also, at that time, kind of self-healed from exercise-induced asthma, which I'd had since a child. And then during my pregnancies, I used the Brewer diet to get my nutrients because it turned out I was very sensitive to prenatals. And just recently, in the fall, I had some real severe hip pain that was becoming a problem when I slept. And even positions didn't seem to help. And so I did a 30-day cleanse and completely healed like no pain at all. And I'd had that pain for about 2 years. So I feel like nutrition can have a lot of power in your life. And it's easy to overlook. It's easy to go to the doctor for things, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you might want to think about the power of nutrition and sleep and exercise when you notice, like, this isn't how it's supposed to be. So just real quick, early in my first pregnancy, I was starting to do some research into nutrition, and it was a catalyst for me in my mind. I decided that while I can't control what my kids eat when they're adults and what my husband buys when he's away from home, that I was going to give them the best start that I could in life, and that I was going to give them a love of healthy food and healthy habits. Because the truth is that food is important. I'm imagining Sandy will talk about this, but what you eat affects your dietary hormones, and that affects what your day-to-day life looks like. It affects your fat storage, your sleep routines, your feeling of fullness, and the energy that you have throughout your day. All things that matter when you're a mom, because your life affects those little ones who are around you. And also, it can affect our mental and emotional health. And I'm going to say something that I know a lot of us moms struggle with, because I have too, but God is meant to be your primary comfort in times of difficulty, not food. And God wants to be your reward for a job well done, not food. And God is jealous to be your motivation for doing right, not food. So if you notice you have unhealthy patterns and habits in your life, and I'm speaking this because I'm guilty, and I go through my waves, but that's something you should really pray about and focus on, because God wants to be your soul source. He is enough for you. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. So my goals for my family, I'm just going to share a few with you that we've embraced in our family. Totally might not work for you, that's fine. So one of the things we've decided to do, like my friend Sandy and I, is we embrace gardening. We share crops with our friends who even have tiny little gardens or a fruit tree, and we try to use the whole product. So whether it's an animal or a plant, we try to let nothing go to waste, which is one of the reasons why I have chickens, if you know me as well, because they eat everything that we don't eat. It's perfect, and then they give you eggs in return. Also, in my family, we pursue avenues to find free-range, organic meat if possible, which can be really tricky. Because of that, we also limit dairy consumption. My husband's lactose intolerant, and high-quality dairy is so expensive and hard to find. So we just kind of limited it. We also decided to develop a taste for unprocessed starches. So instead of stuff like noodles, we try to eat more like brown rice and stuff like that, and the natural sweetness that's in so many unprocessed foods. And if you also know me, I love vegetables. My personal mission in life is to make everybody find a vegetable that they love in a way that they love to eat it. So that's important to us. Also, I just want to encourage you to think about your goals for your family. So go ahead on the back of this paper, using a pen, I want you to think, maybe write down 1 to 3 goals that you have for your family. It could be goals you already have or goals that you would like to have. They don't need to be super specific, just general goals. What kind of an attitude towards food or what kind of appreciations for food would you like your family to have? Go ahead and take a minute to do that. All right, it looks like most of you wrote something down. If anything else comes to you, write it down, something to think about and pray about later. If you don't hear more about it from me. So now that you have some goals, let's look about how to eat on a healthy budget, because that's the truth of being a mom is there's a lot of mouths to feed and not a lot of money to do it. So I'm going to share some of the stuff that works for me. Take what you want, skip what you don't. First of all, I would say evaluate your space. We don't often think about this, but evaluate your space. Evaluate your space outside of your house. Do you have a patio? Can you put a little herb garden in? Do you have a yard? Even if you have no time, you could probably plant a few fruit trees. You'd be surprised. And if you have a husband who's remotely open to the idea, ask him, hey, babe, what do you like? If I plant this, or if you plant this, will you take care of it? And then you can pass it off and not have any responsibility and still share the bounty of it. Also, evaluate your space in your house. I know none of us think we have enough pantry space, but think about what's filling up your pantry space. Is it stuff that you can buy again next week? Is it stuff that's contributing to your health? If it's all full of cheese puffs and you don't have anything that's actually going to sweeten or I should say, add character to the foods that you want your kids to eat, that might be something you might need to reevaluate. So we tend to stock our pantry with things like olives. My kids love capers. I know that's super weird. Artichoke hearts, sun-dried tomatoes, anything that fits into your family's profile of what you like that you can add to healthy food instead of replacing the healthy food by being junk. Also, if you have space, I encourage you to get a chest freezer. In our home, we got a stacking washer and dryer to make room for the chest freezer. So when meat's on sale or we have too much of something in the garden or on the trees, we can freeze it. And as a mom, do you know how easy it is to go pull something out of the freezer and not have to go to the store? That is my favorite thing. On the mornings, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, perfect, ground beef. We're having meatloaf tonight. I don't have to worry about it, and I don't have to go anywhere. Next, I think you should evaluate your time and how you use it. So we all talk about planning, right? How to plan your meals. Some of you plan for the month, some of you plan for the week. I plan 2 or 3 days at a time because I plan our meals around the produce that's in season. I'll talk a little more about that later. But you should also plan a time for when you're going to prepare your food. A lot of us will just have it in the fridge, and then it's like an hour till dinner, and we're like busting everything out, chopping. If life is crazy in your house at dinner time, you should try to find a time to do that ahead of time. We homeschool, so my kids are at home all day long. We make time in the morning. We chop and get everything ready for dinner so that when it's dinner time, I just toss it in. It's already chopped. It's prepped. The kids will measure out the sauce ingredients, and they love that. And it's really fun for them, and it's much easier for me because it's chaos when my husband comes home with the little kids too. So another thing you should try to put in your planner if it's valuable to you. So a little bit more about shopping seasonally. I know this is not real popular with moms, so I won't talk too much about it. But if you eat what's on sale at the stores, you will save yourself a ton of money and you will get better nutrients in your body. It's a little bit harder because you can't plan a whole month ahead of time because produce goes bad. But you'll be better for your body, and it'll also make your kids a little more flexible. For example, asparagus was on show this weekend. We only have asparagus a few times a year because that's when it's on sale. And my kids are so excited about it because we don't have it all the time. Or grapes. Grapes are only on sale a certain time of year. So if you eat seasonally, it will not only save you money, but it'll make your life a little more exciting, which makes it a little more flexible. That's got its pluses and minuses. A little bit about stores. How many of you have ever shopped at Sprouts? I'm expecting to see every hand go up. Okay, so I don't know if you know about Sprouts. So they stopped doing double ad Wednesdays like a year and a half ago, if you haven't noticed. And they are very strict on their mask policy, if you haven't noticed. I've been confronted multiple times by managers. And there's a new store in La Mesa that opened up right on Jackson. It's called Frazier Farms. And they have a double ad Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Same deals on produce. So if that's something that fits in your schedule, you might consider doing a weekly shopping run for produce there. Also, if you live in El Cajon or near El Cajon, which is probably all of you, we have a lot of ethnic markets, Mexican and Arabic. The thought of going in there might make you feel uncomfortable, and it might even shock your kids at first because it's different languages. They get a little bit closer. It's a little different, but you will save a ton of money. We have a little Arabic store by our house that we shop at. They even know my kids now. When I don't come in, the cashiers are like, where's your daughters, if I don't bring them. So you'd be surprised what you might find comfortable after a time and where you might save a lot of money. Also, a lot of us have gotten used to shopping online. Check out Azure Standard. Sandy and I shop from there sometimes. It's a website, and it's kind of like a direct from farmers to customers. So they buy huge quantities of pantry staples, and they put it in smaller packages, and it's a lot cheaper than a place like Sprouts. Azure Standard, and it's spelled Azure. And so that's a once a month delivery. It literally comes on a semi out of Oregon. We meet them at the time it shows up. We pick up all of our crates of food or whatever. It's more like cases. And then we take it home and unpack it. It's super easy. And they have meat and stuff, too, at a pretty good price if you're looking.
A lot of organic, at really good prices.
Yes. And they even have stuff that's like on clearance. Like when meat's been in the freezer close to a year, they'll discount it like 50%. And so, anyways, check it out if you're interested in that. Let me see. Sorry, I'm a little out of order here. And I just want to say for healthy food, I would also encourage you to redefine your idea of convenience food. When you're a mom, life is crazy, and sometimes it's like touch and go moment to moment. If your convenience food is the package of chips in the cabinet or the goldfish crackers, no offense to those of you who feed your kids goldfish crackers, you might want to expose your kids to the idea of other types of convenience food. We live in a warm climate. It is so easy to get out a veggie and cut it up and serve it to your kids fresh with some hummus or something like that. Even when you're packing a snack to go places, if you change your idea of convenience food, it will make it cheaper for you to shop, and you'll be eating healthier. So I want you to go ahead and get out the little packet. So my friend, most of you guys probably know him. You don't know that you know him. My friend Derek, who's been working in the kids ministry, you see him every Sunday at the little booth. He's the little security guy. He is also a nutritional coach and personal trainer, and he supplied this for me. So if you can turn to page 7, I want you to look at the veggies page. Most Americans get enough protein. It's not hard to pack like lunch meat or some nuts or hard-boiled egg, but convenience with veggies can be tricky. So I want you to look at page 7, and I want you to think about your family. If more than half of the members in your family will eat a certain food and the other half can at least handle a few bites, then I would say it's on the menu. And also, if you have kids, they change every year. Their palates change. My husband's palate has changed. Try something different. If they didn't like it cooked that way, try cooking it a different way. So I want you to look through this list, and I want you to take a minute to circle all the foods that most of the people in your family will eat. I'm going to give you a minute to think about that. And if you don't know what something is, like Jerusalem artichokes, ask someone around you or ask me later. I might know the answer. How many of you have been surprised by at least one thing you circled so far that your kids might eat and maybe you don't consistently serve it? Not yet? You should be. I can't imagine that all of you serve all of these things every few months. Like rutabaga. How many of you have served that? Because I never have. That's how you cook it. But yeah. Okay, now how many of you have trouble getting your kids eating veggies? Please, I know that's all of you. I have trouble getting my kids to eat veggies. So actually, it's funny. Joanna just brought this up. So the question is, do you make your kids eat the veggies? In my rule, in my house, we have a 3-bite rule. You try 3 bites, and then you can take your plate to the counter. If they don't eat 3 bites, I say, you're sitting with your plate in front of you until everyone at the table is done, and you don't get to do anything else, like color, because I'll let them color if they finish their food or stuff like that. So that's from my house. I am not as strict as Dan Dinley. If you've ever heard Dan talk about it, he'll just keep serving it to them over and over and over again. I'll save it for one meal, and I'll offer it to them again the next meal before they can have the next meal. After that, I figure, it's done. I'll eat it, or it'll go to the chickens, depending on what it is, how healthy it is. You got to work that out yourself. That's between you and your husband. I know husbands sometimes have very different ideas about making your kids eat the healthy food. But work it out. You guys will find a way to make that work. The next question I'm going to mention is how you get your kids to eat healthy. The first thing I want to talk about is, you already heard this before, is get your kids involved. We all know, get a garden, have your kids eat food out of the garden. Get your kids involved at the store. I'm telling you, it makes your shopping trips faster. I have a 9 and a 10-year-old. We divide and conquer. We hit the produce section. I'm like, you get 2 bags of apples. You get 3 bunches of celery. You pick out, 5 things of garlic. Everybody's done their job, and now they're all interested to see how we're going to cook that food. You can also get your kids interested in choosing recipes The libraries are tricky right now with COVID, but they have great kids cookbooks. Every time we go into the library, because that's a chore for us, I make them each check out a cookbook, and they have to pick 3 recipes out and all commit to cooking one of the 3 that they pick out. Also, when you're stuck with the man, I've only got 3 things in the fridge and what do I make with this? Check it out online. My kids and I all the time will be like Brussels sprouts and chicken, and we'll just look online and I'll be like, look, here's 3 options, pick one. It doesn't matter to me. We've never made any of them before. I don't know if any of them are going to be good, but we're going to eat this food in the fridge, so they might as well have a say in how it turns out. Also, I would say instill a sense of adventure. So many kids are stuck with the same 3 meals that they like. Try new things, new ingredients, new spice blends. Like I let my kids pick out a spice blend when we roast pumpkin seeds, and that's really interesting for them. New ways of eating, like chopsticks. That might be for the older kids. And even include treats in your sense of adventure. When you go to a French bakery, encourage them to try something new. If you're making an ingredient home, you have guests coming over. I know guests isn't the most popular time to try new recipes, but if it's tried and true by other people, try it out. See if they like it. They never know. Also, I would say cook for the seasons. In the summer, if you cook a lot of cold food and serve up cold, healthy stuff, they're going to want to eat it. Same thing with the winter. If you make a hot soup and it's choice between this cold macaroni and cheese and the hot soup, you're more likely to get your kids to eat what's going to fill them up for the season. Next is texture. We all kind of grew up in the years of steamed, mushy vegetables. Please don't do that to your kids. Roast it, saute it. We've grilled bell peppers over the bonfire before. Get creative and get your kids involved if you can. Also, add nuts and seeds if your kids like texture. My kids love shredded, unsweetened shredded coconut in their oatmeal or sesame seeds on their broccoli. Little things like that, you might turn out they like it. Also, natural flavor. A lot of people really like to buy the pre-made marinades and sauces. I encourage you, look up some of your own. Most of that kind of stuff has 5 ingredients or less. So easy to make. Your kids will make it, and they'll love it. And a lot of times they have a choice about what's in it. So super easy in that sense. I'm almost done, just so you know. Now, even though we want to promote natural flavor to our kids, sugar is still a big part of our life. It's what makes being a mom fun sometimes. You get to make cookies with your kids, right? Or grandma comes over and she brings an apple pie that she made, and that's okay and normal. So the question is, how much sugar is too much sugar? And I want to say this. Even if you're slender and you're the kind of person who can eat everything you want, the truth is, it will catch up with you. The inside of your body, as you progress through your life, will begin to show the effects of all that food that you've eaten. So be careful. To keep treats special, because that's what they should be, is special, consider eliminating everyday items that have sugar. Cereal, for all you moms that do cereal. Granola bars or protein bars tend to have a lot of sugar in them. Spaghetti sauce, if you don't know that. Most breads have tons of sugar in them. All these kind of ingredients have sugar, and then when your kids do have a treat, it's not so special because they're already used to the taste of the sugar. They've had it in everything else. So in our family, we do treats once a day. Obviously, it's like a homemade special treat for guests or on special days. Most of the time, it's like, ooh, you have your sucker from church on Sunday. You get to pick out a little treat bowl or candy that people have given us. Once a day is a good amount of sugar, and then it keeps it interesting for the kids. Obviously, there are special occasions. There's going to be birthdays and vacations and outings. Go with it, but keep it special. Don't do it every day. One last thing I want to say about sugar. Consider eliminating it completely when anyone in your family is sick. So if you don't already know this, sugar weakens your immune system. And then you have the problem of out of your 4 kids, 1 kid is sick, and that 1 kid, you can't tell that 1 kid, you can't have any sugar today because you're sick, because guess what? They're going to see the 3 siblings eating sugar. So in our family, if any one of us is sick, because the rest of us could catch it as well, we say no sugary treats. We'll have treats that don't have sugar. We'll serve dried fruit that doesn't have any added sugar. We'll do cheese and crackers if we need to. You can also do things I don't know why, but my kids love the coconut that's in the little strips. It doesn't have any added sugar. They will get that stuff as a treat when they're sick instead of choosing things with sugar. Also, if someone in your family is sick, that person should probably avoid dairy. If you didn't know this, dairy increases the mucus in your throat and in your sinuses. So if you're having a sickness that's already got those symptoms, you're just going to feel more miserable, and it's going to prolong how long you have symptoms for. Last thing I want to talk about is diets. So if you're considering cutting out more than just sugar, you might have questions about what diets are right. There's no answer to that. I don't know if you know this. There's a nutritionist that'll tell you this diet, and a nutritionist to tell you that diet, and a doctor to tell you this diet, and you can find facts on both sides of the fence. I would encourage you as an active mom, don't do diets that are going to cut your calories. Do diets that are going to promote healthy food to get those healthy hormones going through your body. So even stuff like keto or the Whole30, you're not cutting any calories. If anything, you're actually eating more. Don't skip breakfast. Eat a healthy breakfast before you have coffee. I know that's unpopular too. Encourage small lifestyle changes. Some of the ones I've done for myself and in our family: eat a breakfast free of sugar and starch before your morning coffee. Sometimes we do no starches and sugars after dinner. We'll have like seasoned nuts or stuff like that. Switch your treat time. If you have dessert after dinner right before your kids go to bed, Joanna might talk about this, that's going to impair their sleep. We do treat time in our family after nap time. They're going to have a snack after nap anyways. It's still a few hours before dinner in our family. Do dessert at 4 o'clock. There is nothing wrong with that. Just saying. Or you can always do a single ingredient fast. If you have a really hard time skipping the milk chocolate, say I'm going to do 2 weeks with no milk chocolate. You don't know what you really need until you skip it. You might be totally fine without it, and it might make you a lot healthier. So on the same paper where you write your notes about your goals, I want you to think of 1 or 2 lifestyle changes that you could implement for the next 2 weeks if you wanted to. Not saying you have to. Just a small change that would make you and your family healthier. Go ahead and keep writing. That's actually all I have for you guys. So hopefully I challenged you and gave you some new ideas about nutrition. And I really hope you guys take away with something. Walk away with something new that you didn't know, and maybe trying a new strategy at home to switch up your routine.
Thank you so much, Lily. I don't know if this is working.
It is.
Hello? Hello? Oh, okay. So remember, write down any questions that you might have, because we're going to do question and answer when everything is done. So if you have questions, write it on that piece of paper for her after, and then we'll hear from Joanna.
Wow, there was a lot of good stuff in there, Lily. I have some work to do. All right, well, when Courtney asked me to be on the panel and focus on sleep, and I told my husband, he laughed, but you're going to talk about sleep? So I have to admit, sleep, I have not ever really, I'm working on it, but I have not always been the best sleeper. I used to say, sleep's for the weak. I got lots to do, lots to play, lots of fun to have. I don't need to sleep. When we were early married, I got my husband this little coaster for his nightstand that said nobody got to end their life and said, I'm so glad I got all those nights rest. So this is an area of growth in my life. This is an area that recently, truly, I've been quite convicted of for me personally. When we had our first kid 7 years ago, my husband was really adamant that we would focus on sleep. He really encouraged me to figure out how to get my kids to sleep, because for him, sleep's everything, and he just knew, as leader of our family, that if we as a family slept, a lot of other things come into play, come into motion, right? So out of honor to honor him, I really was like, okay, I'm going to figure this sleep thing out. And I started to do lots of research. I read all the books. I read all the blogs. Do you sleep train? Do you not? Do you let your kid cry? Do you not? What do I do? How can I get my kid to sleep? And I learned so much. It was actually quite fascinating. I learned that your kid's brain develops better when they sleep the amount of hours they need to. I learned that sleep begets sleep. I learned if I needed to give a certain amount of calories to my kids at the different ages so that they would sleep longer stretches at night. And it was really interesting. And so we really decided early on, much to how you decided that you were going to teach healthy habits, we decided early on that we were going to figure out sleep in our home. It was going to be a priority, and we're going to be sleepers. The National Sleep Foundation, as you guys know, recommends 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night, right? That whole 8 hours of sleep a night. You're probably thinking 8 hours. I wish. Babies, young children, teens, they need even more sleep for their growth and development. There was a study done in 2018 with 10,000 people, and they discovered that the body's ability to function declines when they get less than 8 hours. And I don't know about you, but I need to function at high capacity in the season of life. With these young kids and the demands on us and everything we have to do as a mother, I need my full capacity. I can barely do it at full capacity, let alone if I don't have the clarity and the mental capacity to communicate and plan and decision make and do all the things that we do as a mom. The Bible, do you know the Bible mentions rest 265 times? And when I looked that up for this talk, I was, wow, surprised. 265. Okay, so clearly it's important to God. He's commanded it of us. He wants us to rest. He rested himself. It's clearly important that this is something as moms that we figure out. Matthew 11:28-30, come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. He wants to give you rest. And I just want to encourage you, if you're sitting here rather exhausted, God wants to give you rest. He's going to give you rest. It's a promise. Psalm 127:2, for he gives to his beloved sleep. God wants us to sleep. So this really grew as to become a conviction in my life, really through my husband. Grateful for him to make this a priority. So we really have to find out why. Like, why make this a priority when I also need to exercise and I need to eat good and I need to grow chickens and plant trees and this seems like there's just so much to do. But so how can I get all the laundry done and still get my 8 hours of sleep? And how can I rearrange that closet and keep order in my home and still get sleep? We have to figure out the why. Why is it so important that we are living at full capacity? I know for me, my why, I just decided early on with kids that I was determined to thrive in this season. I just said, I'm going to figure this out because I don't want to be tired for the next 20 years. Although, again, there's days of tiredness, don't get me wrong. But because we want to, in our home, we want to minister to people. We want to love people around us. I want to be a really great mom. I want to be a good support and helpmate to my husband. I want to be a good friend and a good sister and a good daughter. And we want to we love hosting, and we want to say, come into our home, let us love on you. And I cannot do that if I don't get the rest I need. We can't. We're depleted. We have nothing left to give, and we want to live a life of giving. So that is my why, to figure out, how do I do this? How do I sleep? So if you find yourself feeling tired, might be a few of you as I look at your faces like this. I just want to encourage you to take a moment to really evaluate your sleep and to make it a priority. I recently did this wellness challenge, and it was a competition, and I love to win. And one of the things that we got points for was sleeping 8 hours a night. So this is back in about October I started this challenge, and I had never really counted my hours, to be honest. I mean, thought, sleep for the week. I got things to do, fun to have. But I was going to win. And by the way, I did win, just for the record. $500 at that. It was great. Anyway, so I had to count my hours. So I really started to evaluate, oh my gosh, I don't ever get 8 hours. Whoever thought? So I really started to focus on it. That means I couldn't get up at 5 in the morning. I don't mind getting up. I don't mind setting my alarm. I'm going to get that workout in. I'm going to get up early. That's not a bad thing. But I realized I actually can't do that and get my 8 hours. So I'm going to have to find another time to work out to make sure I get my 8 hours. I really started, Nathan and I started really working hard at getting the kids to bed a little earlier so we can have our husband and wife time, and then I can get to bed, we can get to bed, so that I can get my 8 hours because I wanted my 2 points on that little checkbox because I had to win. But it really changed my life. Honestly, the sleep, I'm not tired. I'm not tired. But it took some real creativity. It took trying different things. I want to give a shout out to Rachel. We're in another challenge, and she's doing it, and she's doing a really good job. Her kids do wake up early. I think at 5 in the morning. God bless you. And but she has figured out, even with her kids waking up, and I think still waking up during the night sometimes, how to get her 8 hours. She goes to bed at 8 o'clock at night, often. And I've been with her where she's like, I got to go home. I got to go sleep. I got to get my 8 hours. And so she wants to win the next one. But she just said today, I'm not tired anymore. It's amazing. I'm getting things done in a day. And so the truth is that when we can figure it out, so if you do have that little baby, that baby has to eat, you are getting up. So you might have to go to bed when the baby goes to bed. You might have to take a nap when the baby naps, all these things to get that rest. Well, then when the hours that you're awake are actually more productive. I'm actually getting more done, having more fun, accomplishing more by sleeping the full 8 hours. So it's going to, like I love Courtney, how she introduced this, because the truth is I can share some ideas, and I'm happy to, but what I want you to walk out of this with is a determination to figure it out. Because for you, it's going to look different. And for my family, it's different. We have, it's just different. So it's just once you put your focus on it in your mind, God's going to give you some ideas of how to do it. So that's what that's my prayer for you today, is that you would walk out with.
At my age, I wear earplugs. I put earplugs, but I don't have to listen for babies.
Yeah. My husband would love to wear earplugs. I won't let him. White noise, literally whatever you have to do to get that sleep, because God commands you to find rest. Ladies, we may need to ditch that Netflix show at night. I understand the feeling of finally my kids are to bed and oh my gosh, I just want some ice cream and I want to watch a show. There's a time and a place for that. I mean, I'm not saying never do it, but maybe we're doing it too much. And we really need to put that down to put what God's commanding of us. God does not say, have your ice cream and have your alone time. Actually, he says, rest, my child. Beloved, I will give my beloved sleep. And so I know there's projects to be done. Structure your day during the day. I love to get things done. I love a to-do list. I'm all about it. But this year I bought that Clean Mama planner. If you've ever heard of it or follow her on Instagram, I bought it. It's kind of expensive, but worth every penny for me. And it's helping me, you guys, get my home in order. And so my goal is to have my projects and my chores, the little bit I do each day, done by dinner. I want to conserve my evening for my husband, playtime with my kids, and ultimately rest. It may mean we need a few less play dates in our life. I mean, I've had to really evaluate my weeks, and I'm an extrovert, and I love people. Let's hang out, have fun. Don't stop inviting me, by all means. FOMO here. No, let me say no. No, just kidding. But in all reality, like we really have, it may be that we've put too much activity in our days so that the only time to get that project done that even your husband's asked you to, or that you really do have to get done, is after the kids are in bed. Then I would encourage you to really think through your schedule of the day so that you're not having to sacrifice one of those 8 hours of sleep to get that project done. So I've really become accustomed I have my planner. I keep it on my counter every single day. I write down. I even teach my daughter to do it. On Sunday, we plan out our week. We talk about what we're going to get done, what we're going to do, And if my kids are having a moment of entertainment to themselves, which, isn't always often, but it happens, if you pay attention, it happens. They're playing. I go over there and I bust out something on my to-do list. Let's bust out the counter, clean counter. The Clean Mama tells you to clean up clutter, clean counter, one laundry a day, whatever. Anyway, the point being is that if I'm intentionally thinking about this throughout my day and doing little snippets, then I at night feel like, okay, I can go to bed. And sometimes I have to go to bed leaving a little bit of a dirty house because 8 hours, 2 points, got to win. No, in all reality, though, it's changed my life, truly. All right, well, let's talk about kids sleeping. Because you may be thinking, this is all great, Joanna, but you just don't understand my kids don't sleep. I really understand. Sleep is so hard. Why is it so hard? I don't know. I guess God really wanted us to get creative and learn how to do it. And I know this can be a little bit of controversial subject, right? Do I sleep train? Do I let my kid cry? Oh, how dare you? Do we co-sleep? Do we not? Do we attach parent? Do we not? I mean, there are so many different views and outlooks, and I'm not going to push any way. However, I can recommend a lot of great books if anybody wants to know. I've read them all. But my point is, again, just like with our sleep, is it has to become a conviction. And for me, it became a conviction because I can go first when I honor my husband. That was my husband's desire and ask. And so I was going to figure out how to honor him in this area. And when I started reading, the truth is your baby needs sleep. Your baby's brain development, it is crucial for them. And for them to develop the way that they need to develop at each stage, they need the sleep. It's for their benefit, for you as a mom, to figure out how to help him or her learn how to sleep. My one of my real good friends was a big sleep trainer, and so it was really helpful for me to have a friend who knew how to do it and who I could call and ask, okay, now what do I do? It's 30 minutes and she won't sleep, and she would encourage me, and she would say, try this and try that and do this, and I just kept trying new things until we figured it out. Do you put a wrap on? How long do you put a wrap? That wrap didn't work. I'm going to try a different wrap. Weighted blanket. Okay, not weighted blanket. Okay, blackout screen. I mean, there's lots of things you can do. So keep trying until you figure out what works for your baby, because there's answers for you. And and there's been times where I've just said, Lord, help me. You need to ask God to show you, to give you the creativity. To ask a girlfriend just recently I asked that girlfriend for my third kid, what does she use for wraps, and she sent me an Amazon link. Here, try this one. Purchase, buy, bought, and she loves it. So, I reach out, ask for help. Try, there's all sorts of sleep. I think I've had friends that have paid sleep coaches. If you're to a point where you're realizing this has become a conviction now in my life, seek out help. Seek out somebody that can give advice on how to do it and what to do. I learned a lot about what I did during the day actually really affected the night. So like you said, how much sugar I'm giving my kids, how often are we eating, when they're little, how many ounces of milk that they need. So I don't know, I'm nursing. How do I figure that out? Okay, well, I researched it. They got to get the hind milk. You got to nurse long enough to get that fatty milk so that it fills their little tummy so they go longer stretches at night. I started doing that. I was like, whoa, this really works. But this all came from me just saying, I'm going to figure this out. I'm gonna keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. Now, what about those older kids? So I thought, okay, my kids now, they all slept 12 hours. They slept 12 hours a night, baby. We figured it out. We learned how to do it. They all did it months old. But then they're older, and they still have sleep problems. I'm thinking, I thought we solved this. I've read those books, and what is going on? So we've had different seasons of kids having struggles. A 4-year-old waking up every single night, coming in our bed. So there was a season where both of our kids, for some reason, every night, I have 3, but the 2 older were ending up in our bed. And then throw in my baby has a nurse. I mean, it was like, what is going on in my home? And my husband was about had it. and, for a little season, I kind of enjoyed it. Like, oh, come visit with mommy. Oh, I love you. I was like, soak it up. So it is sweet. The cuddles are precious and sweet. But it was not working for our family because we weren't sleeping. And so we were tired and crumpy and, Nathan and my husband and I were finding ourselves being like a little bit more agitated during the day. Yeah, because we weren't sleeping. If it really boils down to it, a lot of issues we have because we're not sleeping. If you went to the marriage retreat, men's panel, and because we're not having sex, but we'll just throw that in there. He said, Dio says 90% of problems can be solved by having sex with your husband. Huh, okay, I'll try that. But if you have energy, you have more sex. The truth is when I started doing this challenge, there should have been points for having sex with your husband. Well, that's what I'm saying. The truth is, though, honoring my husband is the truth, is that I had more energy for him in areas he needed it. And so, ladies, it's important to figure this out for that. Your husbands need us too. Even if they're not saying it, they need us too. They may not be saying it, but they want us to. Anyway, back to the kids. So they're coming to our bed. And we're like, okay, this is not working. And so Nathan and I just sat down and said, okay, what are we going to do? We are going to find a solution. And so I bought cute little mats on Target, $20, little lammy one, a little bear one, and I roll them up, and I put them underneath my bed, and I said, all right, children, if you come into our beds, this is where you go. If you're scared and a bad dream and all these things, we are upstairs and they're downstairs, and quite frankly, I don't want to get out of my bed and walk them down because I get woken up and can't go back to sleep. This is the truth. I have learned this. I have to keep myself like kind of half asleep, even when I nurse in the middle of the night. Nathan, like my husband is a great partner because he knows this about me. He doesn't want me up tossing and turning. So he will get me the baby because I have to stay half asleep. Like, here's my boob. Because anyway, I've learned this. So nonetheless, for my family, I know myself. That's what I have to do. So when they come in, I love you. Oh, I pray for you. You're okay. Get Lammy out. Lay on the floor. Throw my blanket up. Love you. Go back to sleep. Okay, it's working. So then, if they come up, that's the new rule. They sleep in their little mats. Now, ultimately, we don't want our kids coming on the mats every night, so we found another solution. Okay, kids, here's the deal. We do stay-up bucks. Maybe a lot of you know what they are, but they get a little $1, and then they can use them to stay up late. And we use them for all sorts of rewards. It's really fun. A couple of families do it here at Foothills. I've learned from other ones. Anyway, so we said, all right, guys, you get 20 stay-up bucks if you stay in your bed all night long. 20. That means you can stay up 20 minutes later and watch it. That's like a whole show. So for a season, while we were working on this habit, they got 20 stay-up bucks. And it really began to work. And Grace will run up in the morning and say, Mommy, 20 stay-up bucks, please. I'm like, you little stinker, you know better. See, it works. So again, because it's a conviction for our family to find rest, because God has told us to, and because we're just better human beings, and we want to influence and be a good discipler of God, we want to love others, we need rest. So we have just come together to determine and find different solutions in different seasons with the kids. One more thing, and then I'm going to pass it to Sandy to talk about exercise. First of all, if you don't get the sleep, it's really hard to exercise, and it's really hard to cook well. So really, it starts with the sleep is the truth. Sorry, it just really does. Okay, I just want to talk to that one mom in here that may say, but you don't understand. I have the worst sleeper. I have a terrible sleeper. There's truth to this. Sometimes there's kids that are really, really hard sleepers, okay? My good friend who I told you was my sleep coach, if you would, had 5 kids and sleep trained to a T, had all of her kids sleeping 12 hours a night by like month 2 or 3. I mean, she was a little hardcore. And, and then she had her 5th. And she says, Joanna, this baby humbled me. This baby really, truly won't sleep. I've tried everything, and she just won't sleep, and she was so frustrated. And I'd get Marco Polos from her just crying and frustrated, and she's like, I'm not a good mom right now because I'm not sleeping, and she's up 3 times a night, and the baby's now 11 months old, still not sleeping, and it was really hard. She had the lip tie and the tongue tie and some health issues, and, it's real. And but what I really admired about my friend is that she still had the conviction, and she still was going to figure it out. And she just started crying out to the Lord. And there was one morning when she said she woke up and she just almost yelled at God, like not really pretty prayers, but I'm so mad. Why isn't this baby sleeping? Lord, please help me. And I feel so alone, and I'm so frustrated. And she actually marcoed me that morning and saying words like that with tears in her eyes, like, I just can't do this, and I'm so mad. And then her husband at the time was at a pastor's conference, and somebody prayed over him and said, this word's actually for your wife, and please tell her that the Lord says you're not alone, and your baby will be healed. And that night, her baby slept the night, 12 hours, 3 days in a row, and she never looked back. So I share this with you because, we can't, sometimes there are those kids that we are trying everything, and it's just not working, but God has the answer for you. And seek him out. You cry out to him. You yell at him if you need to. And you say, God, please help me, because your word tells me I need rest, and I need it. My family needs it. So, Lord, give me creativity and healing if there's healing needed or whatever it is. Ask for God to bring peace and rest over your home, and he will. He is so faithful. And I just really admired my friend that she really didn't give up. So I just want to read that verse again. We'll end with this. Psalm 172, or 120, dyslexic, you think? I don't know. Psalms 127:2. For he gives to his beloved sleep. Beloved daughter, he is going to give you sleep. It's God's promise.
Thank you, Joanna. Thank you, Joanna. That was so good. Remember?
I did bring this just as a little snapshot and an idea of how much sleep. It's pretty crazy when you look, you're like, whoa, my newborn, when we know this, 18 hours of sleep. I mean, 9 to 12-month-old kid needs 14 hours total of sleep, and it's a lot of sleep, right? So it's really interesting if you maybe want to use it as a resource. But just Google. There's so much information out there. Have fun researching.
Thank you, Joanna. If you have any questions, jot those down really fast on the back of that as Sandy's getting started. Thank you, Sandy.
Well, good morning. So I'm going to talk about exercise. No, watch everybody stand up and walk out. Hey, let's count that as your exercise. I'm going to talk about exercise, but not necessarily in the way that you may be anticipating. So whatever you think I'm going to say, I'm probably not going to say that. And I'm not going to tell you, do this, do that. We're all unique individuals with unique and different needs and responses. And it would be negligent for me to give out cookie cutter to-dos because we're all so different. But I will promise that I can give you like an outline and some tips, and some good understanding about our bodies. And sleep and nutrition completely play into this. And so hopefully it will be a place for you to begin or to continue successfully on your healthy fitness journey. And I'm going to talk in very non-doctory layman terms. But like Joanna and like Lily, I don't know why I'm blanking on your name. Okay, so Heather Clemmy, if you want to take a nap right now so you can help clock your 8 hours, you can, because I already told her a lot of the stuff I'm going to say today. I did a lot of research. I've done a lot of research. And throughout this little snippet of a talk today, you'll hear some of the reasons why I started researching out like exercise and wanting to, lose any extra weight that I have. Just as a background for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sandy Foreman, and I've been coming to Foothills for 25 years, almost 26, and I'm a mother of 7 children. And if you're asking yourself, did you birth them all? The answer is yes. I housed and birthed them all. And I'm a nana to 6 of the best grandkids ever, even though I know Julie would say, well, mine are the best grandkids ever. They all are the best grandkids ever. And now I'm 50, and I am post like menopausal, which has caused me some undesirable weight gain. And so it's also forced me in a really good way to become more and more and more informed, because as women, our bodies are ever changing. You know what I mean? We're, we have periods, and then we get pregnant, and then we're nursing, and maybe we don't have a period for a while. And there's just so much so many fluctuations in our bodies and with our hormones. And that affects sleep. That affects, whether or not I can and should be exercising and how to do that. So first of all, I want us to look, well, sure, I want us to look good. I mean, we all want to look good, is what I mean to say. I didn't get my 8 hours. And my printer wouldn't print, so I'm reading off my phone, which is very unusual for me and a little more challenging because I'm older, and this is technology. Anyway, but I'm grateful to have it. Okay. So we all want to look good, right, and feel good. And some of us want to tone up. Some of us want to lose weight. Maybe some of us want to gain some weight. I mean, that's a thing too, gain some muscle. So the first thing we really need to ask ourselves is why? Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to exercise or feel the need that you should be exercising? What's your goal? What's your purpose? Is it to wear and look good in a bikini? Is it to get healthy and live a long life? Correct health issues or blood sugar levels? Is it, to gain muscle, to get strong? Is it just to make heads turn and say, haha, I look good? And none of these are right answers or wrong answers. It's just an opportunity for you to get honest with yourself and say, why do I do this? Because if we don't examine our motives of why we're doing what we're doing, whether that's eating right or sleeping or exercising, it's not going to be very motivating for very long. It'll start to feel like a chore, and then we're going to have a little measure of success, and then quit. It's not going to last long term. And the goal would be to be making lifestyle, which is your whole lifestyle, changes. And so keep in mind, too, that we all age. I am not going to look like my 20-year-old self. All I can aspire to be is my best 50-year-old looking self, And beauty fades. The Bible says in Proverbs 31:30 that beauty fades. So don't obsess and strive for some kind of notion of perfection that we're not going to get. Don't compare yourself to other people thinking, well, that's working for her and she looks great, so it must be going to be working for me, and then it doesn't, and then you feel like a failure and you're just not going to measure up. Work on your inner beauty and your inner character, because that will never fade, above all else. Second, we need to remember we are as biologically different on the inside as we are and look on the outside. There's not one of us in this room that looks exactly like the other person. And so internally, our biological needs are not exactly the same either. One type of exercise routine may work super great for one person, and it can be a big fail for another person. It's because we're all unique in our hormones, in our genetics, in our passions, and what we like to do and don't like to do, in our hobbies and in our different seasons of life. What Joanna can do at her age, it'd be bad for me to try and do that at my age. You know what I mean? It will be counterproductive to me. And then what I do just may not be enough for her. Like, she needs to do more than what I'm doing because it wouldn't be enough for her. So understand that when you start, like they talked about, find out what food and how to eat, how to budget, and how to make that work, what works for you. Find out how to get yourself to get that 8 hours, to your kids to get that sleep. Try different things and find out what works for you. And it's the same with exercise. There are a lot of nutritionists and exercise gurus and people out there that have programs and all of that, or even sleep train programs or nutritional programs. And all of those things are good, but really what they should be is a framework for you, a springboard. And then you tweak it and you make it your own. And not necessarily that we all have to do this, okay? Because it won't work for everyone. You need to fill it in with the specific details for you and your specific needs. Now, this book here, when I've been doing a lot of research from a lot of different resources and trying to find out, because I've tried different programs and workout routines and ways of eating and all of that, and I'm never really satisfied for very long. It falls short after a while because I don't like being regimented and being told you have to only eat this or this way or only exercise like this or this way. To me, it feels like I'm in a box and I don't have freedom anymore. And I don't think God meant us to be that way. I think that, I wouldn't want to go to bed at 8. My husband would like me to stay up till 9 or 10. But then that does mean I need to make other adjustments because I didn't get all my sleep last night. I also didn't wear my earplugs, which I'm finding I kind of need to do now. Because for having had 7 children, I wake up to every little noise in the house all night long. It could be a floorboard creaking or the cat walking around, and they're pretty quiet, and I'll still wake up. But one of the books that I discovered that I really, really like, it's this book by these 2 doctors, Dr. Jade and Keone Teta, T-E-T-A, and it's called Lose Weight Here. And they're actually brothers. It sounds like Jade and Keone sound like a husband and wife. And at first, that's what I thought it was. And then I saw in the back of the book that it was 2 men, and I was like, oh. And then I read their acknowledgments, and they're like, thanks, Mom and Dad, for giving us names that sound like husband and wife instead of brothers. And I'm like, oh, shoo, I wasn't the only one thinking that. Anyway, I really like this book because a lot of what they lay out in here, and I'll share a couple of the things, is stuff and they'll say in there, this is just like bullet notes and an outline. Go and be a detective and find out what works for you. And they talk about nutrition, and they talk about exercise, and they talk about sleep, because it all intertwines. And one of the things, let me get out my phone here, my notes, that they talk about is in ELEL, or EMEM, which stands for exercise less and eat less, or exercise more and eat more, kind of guideline. So in other words, our input needs to match our output. Did you know that power lifters can eat as much as 10,000 calories in a day? I mean, those strongman competition guys, 10,000 calories easy. If I ate 10,000 calories, first of all, I wouldn't look strong because I'm not powerlifting. That's not going to work for me. But their input definitely of calories and foods that they're eating, the amount of protein they take in, it matches for their output of the calories and the energy that they're expending. So one of the things that the doctors in this book are explaining is if you're having a day where you're not doing a whole lot, you're exercising less, then match that with your input to eat less. And this is with the understanding that the eating portion is going to be healthy, nutrient-dense foods, not, oh, you're so sweet. Oh, thank you. I didn't have two hands. Do you like being like a daughter to me? It's very nice. Okay. You're really, oh, I just like, you guys are like daughters for me. Thank you. So if you're exercising that day a little more strenuously, like a formal routine of exercise, lifting weights and stuff, you can eat more to match that calorie output. Because here's the thing. The mainstream diet and exercise experts, actually, you'll hear this, eat less, exercise more. That's an ELEM model. Eat less and exercise more is kind of the push. And you'll find when you do that, at some point you become ravenous and you start having cravings. Because if you're restricting your calorie intake so much to not eating enough to match that output, at some point it might work fine at first, and then at some point you're going to break and you're going to be starving because your body's saying, we need more to match with this. Now, and this ELEM, eat less, exercise more model, can actually over time wreaks havoc on our metabolism. So in the long term, you are going to start slowly over time, even if you lose some weight, begin gaining weight. And it's because it messes with our hormones, especially women are so, they're always fluctuating anyway. If within a 1 month cycle, you fluctuate, you know, estrogen's higher, now progesterone's higher, and this is lower, and it's going like this all the time. And so when you're restricting calories, but you're working, it tells your body something's going on, something isn't right. We're under stress. Your body, you can't by a power of your will work against your own body's physiology. You know, your biology is your biology. It has a certain rhythm and defense mechanism and protective. So you don't want to work against that. Now, let me just share a little story. When I was a young mom, you know, one of the things I did was move and groove around a lot. And, you know, I had 7 kids, so, you know, I'm moving and grooving all day long. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I would sporadically entertain doing, you know, formal exercise. Like I'd get my Tybo DVD, and I would do Billy Blank's Tybo. Or, you know, it really dates me. But, you know, I would do fun things like that, and I enjoyed it, and I do that for, you know, I do a few times a week, and that was really fun, and I felt really fit and really good, right? And I like working out, to be honest, only when it's fun, because I get bored really easy. And I can quickly lose interest. But I also ate intuitively. I kind of was busy taking care of kids, and I ate when I felt like I needed to eat, and I was hungry, and when I didn't, I just didn't. So at some point, throughout all of that, you know, I stayed pretty slender while I was having my kids. I would gain the pregnancy weight and re-lose it afterward and stay slender. It was fantastic. I thought I could eat what I want. I could have all the donuts and the sugars and the whatevers, and I just don't gain weight. That's just me, right? That's how I work. That's God really blessed me. And so I was kind of arrogant in that and not real mindful of, you know, am I getting enough sleep? Am I eating right? You know, what is this exercise doing for me and to me? And then I had a person come along who was like, you know, how much do you eat in a day? Because they're watching me eat, and it's not a lot. And they're like, how much do you actually eat? How many calories do you actually eat in a day? And I'm like, I don't know. So I went on MyFitnessPal or whatever and started tracking it. And my range typically of what I was eating in a day was 900 to 1,100 calories. That's really low, right? Yeah, that's what she said. You are not eating enough. Now, I was never so skinny that I was like, you're a rail and you need to see a doctor. Except when I was really young, okay? When I was like a little kid, my mom was like, you need to eat more, okay? People have been telling me this my whole life. You need to eat more. And I'm like, oh, I should. And this is when the rise of the exercise, more, eat less time was coming in, and everybody was tracking their calories and being more, aware of, all of that. And so she's like, oh, you're not eating enough. And I'm like, oh, I'm not? I'm like, yeah, you should be eating at least like 12 to 1,400 calories in a day, at least, right? So I'm like, oh, okay. So that sounds like a more normal number, right? If you're eating 12 to 14, it's still low for you. She also works out with weights and heavy, But I mean, it's a more reasonable number. Okay. That's what she said. Well, guess what? Not for me. You want to know why? Because I wasn't doing very much. The regular movement of every day, going up and down the stairs, walking around the yard, the house with the kids, was normal for my body. I wasn't burning a ton of calories doing that. That's just my body's normal everyday routine. So I upped my calorie intake. And then so basically cue the perfect storm at that point. The perfect storm hit in. At about that time, I had had a hysterectomy. My uterus was prolapsing, couldn't have any more children. I cried, but I'm kind of glad of it now. My youngest is 16, and I'm like, only 2 more years. Then everybody's an adult, and I'm on my own. I'm free, right? Not necessarily, but kind of feels like maybe there's this pot of gold, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I like that. Anyway, so I had a hysterectomy, and then 2 years after that hysterectomy, I went hypothyroid. So in one summer, like the height and peak of summer, when you're swimming and you're doing outdoorsy things and you're being active, I gained 7 pounds in 1 month for somebody who's always been thin her whole life, okay? That's when I knew something's wrong. I need to see a doctor. What's going on with my body? Something's wrong. My body was under so much stress, and it went haywire. And I was making sure my calories were up, where the mainstream diet and everybody tells you it should be. And but that also says you need a wide calorie deficit and gap within what you're doing. All of this, my body began to perceive as stress and an increased stress load, because now I'm upping what I'm doing for working out. That means I need to work out more. So my body began to tank. My cortisol levels went up, hormones went out of balance, fatigue set in, thyroid could no longer regulate everything, and I gained more weight, and I felt terrible. And then I felt forced to feel like I had to work even harder and restrict more food, and I didn't know what else to do. And this is what all the experts say I'm supposed to do, so it must be right? So this became a cycle of a measure of success for me, because I had to work hard for a time, and then it was followed by a period of failure because I couldn't keep up the pace, followed by premenopause. Perimenopausal is a whole nother hormone fluctuation that's very tricky on your body. Your body's already going through stuff, and then you're adding these other kind of stresses. And then, followed by, menopause, and here I am today, about 10 to 15 pounds heavier than where I actually feel comfortable. And I mean that as in, what's your mobility? We could be comfortable at many different types of weights, but what's your mobility? Can you squat down and be comfortable doing that on the floor with your kids? Or is that difficult? Can you get back up off the floor? Is that difficult? Our movement and our functionality of our bodies, that's important too. So that's what causes us to feel like I have too much weight because I'm not comfortable in my body, or I can't move the same, or I'm not as strong anymore, like I can't lift and do. So that's the kind of thing we want to start asking ourselves and paying attention to. And you can't win a battle of the will against your own physiology. The fast-paced, rigorous workout routines just weren't me. And I knew that, and I know that now. I didn't know that then. And if you restrict food by eating less and burning more by exercising, your body will respond to that. For some people, it could be a positive response, and for others, like myself, it was a negative response. We need to be paying attention to what our metabolic feedback is. How's your body responding? There could be negative responses that you can become aware of? Like all of a sudden you're doing this, I'm going to eat less and I'm going to exercise more, and you get hungry and you crave and you binge, and there's energy fluctuations. Now you're super tired, you have brain fog, all of those things. You might have some positive changes, more energy. Typically that's going to come though by eating well and getting enough sleep to match, and then eating the right amount to match your energy output. And now you're on a track of feeling good and having energy and all of that. So I'm going to try and talk faster. So while I was reading this book, I had this aha moment when I realized that when I was younger, now this is without discounting the benefit of youth, right? When your metabolism is just a little better and more functions better, and you usually can do something like, walk down to the corner store and get a Slurpee, and you lost weight while you drank a Slurpee. You know what I mean? Like, that's the benefit of youth, right? But without taking that into account, this aha moment came to me like, oh, this is why I was slender, even all throughout having 7 children. It's because I was listening to my own personal body's biofeedback. I intuitively ate less, but I didn't realize and equate it to the fact that, well, I was exercising less also, okay? So it wasn't until I was doing what I was supposed to do that I started to gain the weight. Now, Courtney asked me to answer the question, does chasing babies count as exercise? Well, yes, but just not in the sense of formal exercise workout routines, okay? So if we split that up into 2 terms of movement and formal exercise, chasing babies is what I was doing. That's movement. Going to the park with a friend, walking around the park, walking with your friend, going up and down the stairs at your house. Don't pile everything at the bottom or everything at the top. Just be like, forget it. I'll just take it all the way up, because that's a little extra movement, okay? All of that's good movement, and playing catch and frisbee in the yard with the kids, or gardening, or all those different things, right? Vacuuming. And that's your baseline for what your base calorie burn for your body in a day is. Well, guess what? I don't burn a lot of calories. If I'm just that all I described, I can do, and I like only burn 1,800 to maybe 21 a day. If I work out, I might get up to 24, 23, 24. So I don't really need to eat a whole lot, if I'm on a deficit at all. And then it looked different back then than it does now. But I mean, that's just my body. So I'm discovering my body. You got to discover your body, okay? So how does this play out in real life? So let's say your baseline calorie burn in a day, where movement is the norm, not formal workout routines, is 2,000 calories. And your calorie intake is 1,200. That's pretty low, but I'm just going to leave it at that. That's an 800 calorie deficit. And the Fitbit app tells you that if you want to lose a pound a week, you only need a 500 calorie deficit, okay? But let's say you eat more, exercise more. So on a formal day of working out, you burn an additional 300 calories. So now your baseline calorie burn for the day is 2,300, and you up your calories from 1,200 to 1,500. So you added that 300 back in, and you ate more. That's still an 800 calorie deficit. Like, do you see what I mean? Like, you're fine. You're still going to have a deficit. You don't have to exercise more and eat less. This paper on your table came from this book, and it's How Foods Affect HEC and Fat Storage. HEC stands for Hunger, Energy, Cravings. Okay? So what you're going to do is, as you eat less, exercise less, or eat more, exercise more, you find out how what you're eating and how you're exercising affects your hunger, your energy, and your cravings. And then later on, they changed it to be SHMEC, which would be your sleep, cravings. Let's see, how do you spell SHMEC? S-H, okay. Sleep, hunger, mood, because you could get mood swing changes if you're, they call it hangry. Energy and cravings, SHMEC. So sleep is a big part of that, plays into it. So you're listening to your own individual biofeedback. This paper goes right along with some of what Lily was talking about, and it's just kind of categorizing foods to green light foods, which would be things that you could pretty much safely eat, and you won't necessarily create fat storage. Now, you'll be surprised to learn here that it says high water, low sugar fruits down at the bottom of the green category. Apples and pears are in there, and you think apples and pears or even citrus. Aren't those like if you're feeling low sugar, you take an apple, you eat an apple, that's a high sugar, right? But not compared to the amount of water and fiber in it. So like a banana is going to have more sugar because it has less fiber and less water. So does that make sense? So that's why they mapped it out this way. And those foods in the yellow category are things that you now play around with to tolerance. Like I don't do really well, I was telling Joanna earlier, with oats. That, some people, like I feel full and satiated forever and I feel good. For me, it kind of makes me feel weighed down and I kind of crave more carbs later. So you got to find out and then of course it's like what Lily was saying, sugar foods and junk foods just try to avoid those. So it's just a little resource paper, and you listen to your own body's biofeedback. Okay, so, okay, I'm going to skip past all that.
I'm
Okay.
going to try to do question and answer, so
I
don't
know, I
how
got
long-
like
okay.
1 minute.
Perfect.
Okay, 2. Can I have 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
Okay,
You got it.
thank you. I must have talked too slow at the start. Okay. So for finding out what kind of more formal workout routines that you might want to do, try to think of the acronym ADD. So absorb and try out new routines or weight equipment or moves, okay? D, discover what works for you, what you enjoy, what fits your schedule, your lifestyle, your season of life. Does it leave you energized afterward? And D, discard what you don't love. What doesn't work for you in this season of life. Me, I've discovered I don't like spin bikes. They hurt my tushy. Actually, I don't like them. But a rowing machine, heck yeah, get me on that. It's fun and it uses more muscle groups, which I feel like is productive for my cardio time. Find out what works for you. Okay. Oh my gosh, I skipped ahead backwards because I touched my technology. Okay, so it's really important, though, that you listen to your body's biofeedback. If you start doing a new type of exercise or routine, or you're currently in one, that you're finding you're not left being energized. And then go back and look, are you getting enough sleep? Once Joanna started getting enough sleep, she then had the energy, more energy for those types of activities. Are you eating the right kind of foods? You have this paper, you have the other papers, you have all these good resources. That's important for you to find out because all your body does is perceive all of that as excess stress. And now you're going to go tank. Okay. So there's so much more I could say. And I can't say it. I know. So let me just say this. Take everything we've shared and everything that you've learned from us and other people, friends, family, all of that, and use them as guidelines for you. Discover what works for you. Focus on your sleep and your self-care, foods that are nutritionally dense and lower calorie. Do what you love, what excites you and is fun for you as far as exercise go. And listen to your body's biofeedback. That little flyer on the table with my contact information, I am not a coach, I am not a trainer, it's just support. I ask the Lord, what do I have, what can I give? And I keep wanting to say an outhouse, but it's a outbuilding shed that has a rowing machine, it has free weights, it has a weight bench. I have, lots of things that if it's not free to spend the time with me, but it's not super expensive because I'm not a formal trainer, but I can help you have a place to go that's your one-on-one, help you with form. We could talk about how your body's responding and just take the time together to help you discover what it is for you that'll work for you. So that's what that paper's for, if you're interested. Okay? That's
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I love what Sandy said. As moms, we don't, and everyone, but as moms, we often don't take the time to just here, I'll go up here so you don't all have to turn around. To listen to our bodies, right? We're constantly listening to what our kids need. Mom, I need this. Mom, I need that. So taking the time to listen to what your body needs is super important, and recognizing and acknowledging the differences and the changes. So that's great. Does anyone have any questions for them? I'll come around with a microphone, and we want to answer your specific questions about how to get kids to eat certain foods or sleep or anything. Anyone? Did anything come up? I know. Yeah, you answered all the questions.
I was just wondering if, Lily, you could repeat the grocery stores that you were talking about. I didn't catch them all.
So the one I go to in place of Sprouts is called Frazier Farms. Oh, thank you. I'm plenty loud enough. Frazier. And I don't get an ad in the mail because I live too far away from it. You might get an ad if you live in La Mesa. But you can go online and see it. And like I said, they have Tuesdays and Wednesdays as their double ad days. And it's pretty much produce like exactly as Sprouts. They actually have a larger section in like processed pre-made foods, which I almost never do. But like if you're going out for lunch too, it's like, oh, perfect, there's a deli right there in the store. So stuff like that. And then the ethnic markets just go with whatever's around you. And then the online one is Azure Standard, Azure Standard. And there's a few of us that use that in here, so you can ask me about it later if you have questions specifically.
Cool. Okay. Anyone else? No one else? Okay.
Sandy?
Do you have a YouTube channel you like for exercise? Because that's what I go to right now.
Do you have Instagram?
I have Instagram.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. You do have Instagram?
Yeah.
If you have Instagram, some of my favorites are, one of my favorites would be the Get Mom Strong. I almost said it backwards. It's called Get Mom Strong. Strong. Get Mom Strong. She is awesome. And why I love her is because she had twins and she had really bad diastasis recti, and so she had to heal from that and do exercise properly to help lift your pelvic floor and all that. So you're going to get all those kind of tips, which is perfect for the season of life you guys are in. Plus, it works for any age. I mean, I could do the exercises. She also has where you could purchase like her workout programs and do those monthly. But she gives free content all the time, and she's one of the best. Okay.
I just did this morning a HIIT workout. Rachel recommended it. It was 30-minute. It was so fast. My kids did it with me. They had so much fun. Swift HIIT workout. HIIT. Caroline Gervan. She has tons of free YouTubes and no ads. It was great. Check it out. Yeah. Caroline Gervan, Girvan. She was really good. And I like that get in and get it done. Like, let's go.
And I love that. Like, get your kids involved.
Yeah, my kids love to do it. There's like so many kid ones on there that are so fun. They really get into it. And my friend gave me a good tip is to wear exercise clothes. Like, I'll take a shower, get ready for the day, and put on my tennis shoes and my work and a sports bra. Because if my boobs aren't I'll jump on the trampoline and I'll run around. And it's just the truth. Like, we'll just move more. So that was a good tip. I actually try and do that a lot.
Anyone else? Angel. Oh, I'm getting my exercise in. Look at this. Oh, great.
So I have a lot of weight I feel like to lose to get to like my perfect like mobility movement because I feel like I've put on a lot of weight. So are you saying maybe give myself more time because the Fitbit I go to like the extreme, like I want to be like on a extreme deficit, but I do notice that I'm a lot more tired because I'm not getting as much food and protein's really hard.
So you're already doing a workout program that's telling you, here's the exercises, the routines, and then what to eat or how much to eat? Is that?
It's just basically like you have to be this much deficit of your calories.
Oh.
It's not telling me what to do or what to eat. It's just
So like, is slower? Are you saying like is slower?
If you are
a progress,
exercising
okay?
more right now and eating less, that's why you're tired, probably. Because your body's not getting all its nutrients and to build and repair muscle. You know, so I would up your calories and understand that you're still going to have a deficit. And yeah, it might take a little longer, or your body might respond really positively and it won't take longer. You'd be surprised. Yeah. I mean, how do those guys that are like power lifters can have 10,000 calories and you can still see their muscles? I mean, they're still, you know what I mean?
It might be causing like a stressful reaction.
It might be causing a stressful
that
reaction
might
in your
repair
body.
itself as you have more of a balance there, right? Is that what I'm understanding too?
You got to, that's why their little toggle system of understanding, like eat less, exercise less, which doesn't mean you don't move when you're exercising less. Movement different than formal exercise. And then if you're exercising more, eat a little more. But eat nutriently dense, like Lily outlined.
Can I add one thing to that? It's kind of answering your question. So I actually forgot to mention it was up here, but this book, It Starts With Food, is really just written by the same people that did Whole30. But if you're interested to know how your food is affecting your hormones, and that includes the hormones that make you feel sleepy and energetic.
I'm writing this one down.
This is pretty, excuse me, this is pretty understandable to like the average person. So if it's something you want to learn more about, you can look into it. Obviously, you can also look online too. Just I would make sure, be careful. I meant to say this too. Be careful when you read stuff online, particularly about nutrition and some of the hormonal stuff, because when someone posts an article online, you have no idea how much other information they actually have about the topic. Yes. So I strongly recommend check books out from the library. You don't have to read them all. I just check out all the ones on the topic, flip through them, and pick the ones I like, because then you know this person actually generally knows what they're talking about, although there are still a variety of opinions. So be careful what you see online sometimes.
I just have a suggestion for, I'm really limited in my time, and I love to read, but I just don't have time to read all the books I want to read, so I will often look up book summaries that summarize main points in books. And the other thing I like to do is I will look up the author and like click on video on my phone or computer to see if they have any interviews, if they have any speaking, because they always give highlights and really good information if you're limited with your time.
Awesome. Any other questions?
I had a suggestion too, and I thought this was amazing. There's literally a workout called Lazy Girl Workout, and it's all on the floor. You can use a pillow, and it's like if you're really tired. My daughter is 2, so I'm not as tired I was in the newborn phase, but like for the moms who just want to get a little bit of workout, the Lazy Girl Workout does have you work out. Like it's not, you're like, oh, this is gonna be easy. It's a little difficult, but then at the same time, it's not a long workout for like an hour. It's like quick. And then you feel like you're productive, you did something. So just a recommendation that you can find on YouTube.
And
yeah.
For moms, so I tend to do a lot of floor workout. If you have any lower back pain or if you struggle with your posture from carrying your kids all day, sometimes those floor workouts are exactly what you need. So, and they can be energizing instead of draining.
Okay, I have 2 young kids who are like sensitive to texture, smell. This is like nutritional. Texture, smell, color, just the whole shebang, and
all of the above.
And we eat fairly well, but in like eliminating sugar and dairy and gluten, like those types of things, I feel like they're not eating enough during the day. Like sometimes, toddlers always complain about being hungry, I feel like, but I feel like it's more often that they have to eat. Do you have like any quick strategies in like how to make that transition a little bit?
First, I would say, how often are you feeding them? I would say kids should really eat 5 times a day. I know sometimes we put those snacks in there, we don't want it to come as a meal, like, oh, here you can have some goldfish and an apple. They really should be eating a meal 5 times a day. It should have at least some fat or protein in it. Most fats have a little bit of both at least, even if it's just nuts. And I would say a fruit and a veggie for kids. Adults, we don't need fruit with every meal, but I think it's helpful for kids. So that said, now my kids are at 4 times a day because I don't have a baby. I always laugh because we eat 2 lunches. We eat breakfast. We eat another early lunch at 10:30 before nap. My kids take a nap at 11:30. We eat another lunch at 2 when they wake around the end of nap time. And then we eat dinner at 5. And for the older kids, as they start staying up a little bit later, maybe they even eat again a healthy snack later. So I would say, first of all, consider that. If they're getting enough food during those times, they'll need to snack less. And I would also say, I don't let my kids tell me they're hungry. You might say I'm mean. My feeling is, I feed you every 3 hours. If you're hungry, it's because you didn't eat it. Don't tell me you're hungry. If we're out and I forget, that's different. But at home, you don't get to tell me you're hungry. So that, I don't know, that's more of a discipline thing. So as far as veggies, you said they're sensitive to texture. I would say go on what you know that they like. If they like pureed, mashed up stuff, I don't know, butternut squash is orange, or there's even sweet potatoes. They're kind of a starch veggie. But I'd say be creative about stuff like that. We all have heard about cauliflower. And I would say just try stuff different. Try
What
cooking
about,
it different.
What's your take, or anyone up there, on smoothies and getting a bunch of stuff in one shot? I don't know.
I love smoothies. I'm all bad at throw it in that Vitamix, mix it up, put in a cute curly straw.
It's don't mind anything in a smoothie.
Oh yeah, throw it all in. Hidden stuff. It's great.
So if you're doing that with your kids, make it a meal replacement. You know what I mean? It's got the protein in there, it's got the fats, it's got the veggies. Yeah.
Are their bodies, or are our bodies processing the nutrients the same way though? If you're drinking your
Yes,
nutrients
as long as what you're
instead
putting in
of
it has
eating.
enough fiber and not a lot of sugar. So you already said you
Okay.
limit dairy. So, if you're base is ice cream, maybe not so much. But if you're doing stuff that's mostly dairy-free and you're putting in some veggies in and you put in some healthy fats like coconut milk or something like that, they should be totally fine. So that's what I would say. Because if you're putting the whole fruit veggie, and they're getting the
Flaxseed,
fiber
hemp
too.
seed, stuff like that in it too. In a smoothie, totally. Yep.
I'll give you some kale recipes if you need them.
Well, I should probably try.
And can I just say, for anybody who has a sensitive tummy, doing that, blending it up, actually helps it, go into your system a little more gently. Or cooking, baking your apple in the evening, and then you could just, do some nuts and drizzle a tiny bit of maple syrup and cinnamon. You have it's a treat, but it's baked, so it's easier for your body to digest if your tummy's kind of sensitive to things. And same thing with kids, if their tummies are just sensitive, you could always, bake or make sure it's cooked veggies, not raw veggies, and things like that.
I don't know if this, maybe you guys can correct me if it's wrong, but sometimes we'll get coconut cream and make homemade coconut whipped cream as a treat after dinner. And so it's not really high in sugar or anything, but my kids think it's fun and exciting, but it's not super bad, or it's not the heavy whipping cream and with powdered sugar and everything. So it's not, I don't know, just interesting things like that to try. Okay, maybe the last one, unless anyone is really itching to ask another question.
It's actually a suggestion for the color thing. So when I started giving him purees, he ate literally everything. And then when I gave him food, he just didn't eat anything green. So I was like, really? So I started making my own, salsa. And I because he loved everything red. So I put salsa over broccoli, and he ate it. Because he didn't, I don't know why.
Homemade marinara might work. Yeah. I've heard a lot of moms do that.
So I just did because I didn't want to buy salsa because all the added stuff, or it was spicy. So I just made my own salsa and put it all over everything green. And
but how can you make everything pink? That's my question. Sprinkles probably aren't going to work, right? Yeah, beets. Okay, that was awesome. I want you guys to be able to chat for a couple minutes before you get your kids, but you literally have 3 minutes. So remember to get your kids. Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes, so Derek is the nutritional expert here, and he'll be available after. Thank you, ladies, so much. Let me just pray to close us out. You guys can hop down if you want or stay up. Lord, thank you so much for just the information here. Father, I pray that you would just help little nuggets of gold to pop out from this, what you wanted these moms to get from this. Would they just take little baby steps in the right direction if, or or make lifestyle changes, big lifestyle changes, if that's what you're calling to them to in this season, Lord. We know that you have health and abundance for us, and that you have more for us than tired, brain fog, so worn out mom. So Lord, would this be a blessing, and would you just pop up things in their mind to focus on in the coming weeks? We love you, Lord. Amen. All right. And we'll see you guys next month.